you are imagining a failure scenario and you're working backwards now, trying to figure out what can possibly lead you to that failure scenario. So once again, very warm welcome. So this is where we are at now. We started off with the 8 steps in the decision-making process. So identifying the decision type through the decision matrix, framing the decision, gathering the evidence with using the looking forward, reasoning backward approach, looking from the different lenses and evaluating different alternatives that we talked about, right? Next, we are going to be talking about how to minimize negative consequences. So let's go deeper into inversion thinking, right? So let's kind of put the spotlight on Nakul. Go for it. What product are you launching?
It's a B2B2C product. So I work at Leap School, which is a B2B product for education, direct to school. And because we sell to schools, we get the child pool as well on our app.
Okay.
And I'm creating a direct B2B2C course pack for these kids.
Okay. What are the metrics that you are looking to gauge your success on? Or what are the metrics going to look like? Just tell me the metric. Whatever metric you are going to be observing.
Transactions. Irrespective of what is being transacted, money, coins, virtual currency, anything.
Transactions. Okay. Now let's imagine a hypothetical future state. I sincerely hope that does not happen, but just to play it out. Okay. Let's imagine a state where this metric of transactions is not growing at all. Okay, let's imagine that state. What do you think would have caused you to reach that state? What do you think could have caused that?
Transactions aren't happening. So I'd actually split the journey into interest in transacting and actual transaction, like facilitating transaction.
Okay.
And I'd say, is there interest to transact with me? Which means, are they showing interest in the products that I'm curating for them? Are they going to set some triggers there, saying this is when they say I'm interested? And
so you're saying interest in the product is gone down.
Got it. If that is true.
Okay. So, and what can cause the interest in the product to go down?
Irrelevance.
Sorry?
Irrelevance.
And what can make the product irrelevant?
There's absolutely no sync in what they want and what we're giving. That's one. And second thing, maybe they don't need it at all.
Or maybe they don't need it at all. Okay. And how can you guard against something like this?
One of my tools would be to conduct market research, where we go on foot, across different states, across different tiers, and go ask what their behavior is, and if there is a digital product, would they transact with it or not? And of course, that's a partial validation of them saying yes or no. And then I would ideally do it with inference. Are they consuming digital products apart from what they're doing daily? Are they learning on YouTube? Are they signing up to free courses online?
Okay.
I'd use that as an inference to see that habit develop, saying that they're comfortable with online education apart from school.
Okay, got it. So what we just did was kind of an example of an inversion thinking here, right? You are imagining a failure scenario, okay? And you're working backwards now, trying to figure out what can possibly lead you to that failure scenario. If I would have asked Nakul, hey, how can you increase transactions? He would have been a lot more comfortable listing out, these are the 10 different things which I'm going to do, right? Because we don't want to imagine a failure state. Right? Our human mind is not wired to actually imagine a failure state. And the beauty of this particular thinking model, the inversion thinking model, is that it actually uncovers a lot of blind spots for you. So when you don't apply inversion thinking, right, what happens? It limits our thinking, we neglect future risks, and we ignore failure patterns, and we don't envision future roadblocks, right? And because of that, what happens is our planning suffers because there are a lot of ad hoc requirements that will come in. Okay, this broke, that the traffic is not picking up. Let's do this, let's do that, and that kind of throws our planning in disarray because we have not proactively thought about a lot of different elements. And that's basically the beauty of the inversion thinking. It forces you to focus on a lot of things which can possibly lead you to failure scenarios. I'll give you a very simple example here. At Flipkart, we actually built out an entire new team building for the next 200 million customers, which was led primarily by this particular thinking model, because we asked ourselves this question: what can actually lead to our growth stagnating? And we realized that our growth can stagnate if we are not able to address the needs of the tier 2, tier 3 population, which is coming online for the very first time, whose digital behaviors are not as savvy as kind of our metro and tier 1 city customers. And as we went deeper there, we realized that it's a whole different base, and we had to kind of go deeper to figure out how to solve problems for them, starting with kind of removing email and password as the login mechanism, to moving to mobile and OTP-based authentication mechanism. So a lot of overhaul, etc., had to be done. But it was primarily led with a thought process of how can we make sure that our growth does not stagnate, right? And working backwards from there. And working backwards, you'll find is harder, which is why both in the looking forward and reasoning backward, you see, as well as in the inversion technique, you see, it's about working backwards, right? I'm projecting a future state. Looking forward and reasoning backward is projecting a positive future state, and inversion thinking is projecting a negative future state, right? And then you're working backwards from both sides. I'll give you a very simple example here. How many times do we ignore tech debt in kind of to prioritize functional requirements? We do that time and time and time again, right? Because we just feel that it's okay, the system's running, but one day if the system goes down, then all hell will break loose, right? And then you'll have a code red situation. That's kind of shows like, and we do it on a day-to-day kind of scenario there, right? So that's basically the importance of inversion thinking here. The 4 traps in decision making. So first, let's understand the traps. First trap is the narrow framing. If you frame your decision in a very narrow manner, right, which has a binary kind of response, yes, no response, right, that's the classic mistake that you're making in decision making, right?